The rural Dorset village of Shillingstone was once served by a railway that ran from Bath to Bournemouth, known as the Somerset and Dorset Railway. In its heyday, the station here was important for agricultural freight traffic, as well as a community lifeline in a period dating back to pre-motor vehicle times. But in the 1960s, the line had become unprofitable and was another victim of the infamous Beaching Act. The station quickly became derelict. Local people, railway historians and enthusiasts started a group to restore and save the station, known as the Shillingstone Railway Project. Their tireless determination has produced the beautiful station we enjoy today. Turning back time on the station was an incredible feat, but now that's done, where do you go from there? Well, to become an operational railway, of course. It's always seemed an impossible dream for many, but the aspirations of the Shillingstone Railway project have now outgrown their name. Welcome to the North Dorset Railway. To break out from the boundary of the station site involves a monumental amount of planning and consultation. Provisions need to be made for wildlife conservation, the coexistence of railway and trailway, authority to operate as a heritage line, to name just a few. Then there's the condition of the surviving infrastructure to consider, some of which needs some reinforcement to once again carry the weight of passing trains. The clearance of nearly 60 years of scrub vegetation and the relocation of a badger set all adds to the challenges that need to be faced. Stretches of the embankment are no longer level and require infill. And who'd have thought that you'd need to remove and infill a sunken tennis court? But in 2021 the railway received the fantastic news that their planning application has been approved by Dorset Council, and now work has already begun to clear the former track bed. And all this to advance the line just a few hundred yards, but this still doesn't deter the volunteers from their ultimate goal: to restore the railway as far as Sturminster Newton, some 3 miles away. Along that route will lie some further hurdles, such as respanning the River Stour Bridge near Fiddleford Manor. Just as was the case for some other heritage railways, a new bridge would need to be funded, but the wide foundation blocks of the original bridge are still in place. The trackbed itself is in good condition and in several different ownerships, including Dorset Council, who accommodate the current trailway path. The site of the former station at Sturminster Newton has almost been completely obliterated, with very few tangible links to the past existing today. But a remarkable survivor is the former Blandford and Webb grain and fertiliser store, which now serves as a carpet and bed warehouse for a local company. The rest having been repurposed to serve the needs of the railway's arch adversary, the motor car. What we found astonishing though during the making of this film was how many local trailway users told us they were completely unaware that their recreational activity was being undertaken on former railway land. Reason enough, we think, for extra promotion of this fact with the help of some extra props. North Dorset Railway engineers have constructed a replica home signal for erection as part of a railway-themed environmental improvement, commissioned by Sturminster Newton Town Council at the entrance to the North Dorset Railway. The improvement project includes new trailway surfacing, landscaping, replica crossing gates and railway fencing. And on the 4th of November 2021, this replica began, in a sense, its own historic journey from the workshop at Shillingstone station to its new location in Sturminster Newton. And thus began the first railway construction at Sturminster Newton since closure in 1966. The scheme has been supported by grants from local organisations, and the plans were developed by a group of enthusiastic local people working closely with town councillors. The signal is located very close to where the Sturminster Newton signal box once stood, which itself controlled movements to this essentially single track line. At the request of the council and with the help of the local museum archivist, North Dorset Railway has also prepared information boards which will shortly be erected on site. These will explain the very significant role the Somerset and Dorset Railway once played in the social and commercial life of the town. The Sturminster Railway project is just one example of many projects undertaken by NDR volunteers. So let's backtrack, if you'll excuse the phrase, to Shillingstone station and take a look at some of the others. The North Dorset Railway supports heritage conservation by creating a living historic environment. As such, it's no surprise that the restoration of historic artefacts forms a large part of the activities. It's astonishing how resourceful the volunteers have been at locating these artefacts in the first place. At the end of the British Railways steam era, the pressure to meet government targets for modernisation of the rail network meant that many items of locomotives and rolling stock were up for disposal. Railway conservationists had plenty to choose from, but no such excess stockpile exists today. Most of the rescued steam engines from the period, for example, have now already been restored and are in service across the nation's preserved railways. It takes a considerable amount of research work to find artefacts to restore, and sometimes those research threads even lead abroad. Project 62 is one such example. The project aims to restore not one but two of these Class 62 tank engines. Today, the team are refitting the buffers to 30075. Their design origins come from America, designed by Colonel Howard G. Hill. Known as Yankee tanks, many of these steam locomotives saw service in the UK, including 14 on the Southern Railway, plus a number in industrial service with Austin Motors at Longbridge, the National Coal Board in the North East, and on the Longmoor Military Railway. The class was very successful, proving powerful, economical to operate, and relatively easy to maintain. During and immediately after the war, up to 400 were deployed across Europe, and many were to become part of the locomotive fleets of railways in France, Greece, Hungary, Turkey, Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. 106 of the original S100 locomotives were taken into service after World War II to form Yugoslavian Class 62. 90 further locomotives were built in Yugoslavia between 1952 and 1961. Both of Project 62's examples were built in Yugoslavia. Acquired from Store Steel in Slovenia in 1990, she is currently under restoration at Shillingstone, with the ultimate aim of operating the locomotive on the North Dorset Railway. Closer to home, rare decaying examples of rolling stock can sometimes still be found on the National Rail network. An ex-Gov van, or General Utility Vehicle as it is known, was acquired with the help of a member from a siding at Brockenhurst Station. The coach was, for many years, used by a local New Forest cycle hire company. Perhaps you remember renting a bike from here. Following negotiations with Network Rail, the vehicle now resides here and is undergoing restoration work. But it mustn't be underestimated how much work goes into resourcing these projects and the intricacies and costs of removing them from their former graves. These are examples of the larger projects, but the wonderful historic ambience of this station would not have come about without the restoration of all the other details, such as signwriting, gardening, painting, lots of painting and maintenance, curating, visitor experience and presentation,
month by month, the down-platform road transport signalled the end for the line.
Station lamps and electrical work. There's also the unseen work of legal and planning, media and printing, and a whole host of other backroom tasks, to mention just a few. But none of this would be possible without some form of regular income, and the backbone of this is the generous donations from the public and the provision of the cafe and rest facilities for visitors. So why do so many people give up their precious time to volunteer on the railway here? Well, that's a question best answered by the volunteers themselves. So what attracts you to volunteering for the North Dorset Railway?
I think it's the peace, the tranquility. It's a lovely site where like-minded people just get together, have fun, enjoy the working environment, and have lots of tea, coffee and cakes.
How long till the next tea break then?
Next week. Wednesday. Well, yeah, what a week.
I don't think so. Oh, it's therapy.
So it's not just tea and cake that motivates the volunteers. If you already have a trade and a little time to help, NDR would love to hear from you. But it's not important to join with an established skill set. Training is given on site in order to accomplish all sorts of different tasks. Perhaps you're looking to start a new career path and require new skills to demonstrate to a prospective employer. Maybe you just have a passion for engineering, or perhaps a personal desire to learn to operate plant machinery, or want to become a mechanic. In turn, this increases visitor and business opportunities locally, with the longer term prospect of assisting the regeneration of Sturminster Newton. In July 2022, MP Simon Hoare, together with Joe Hickish, Chairman of the North Dorset Railway, Dorset Council Ranger Graham Stanley and members of the North Dorset Railway Trustees officially opened the realigned trailway as part of the first phase of extension work. And NDR's veteran volunteer John became the first official user of the new trailway. And it's always good to know that these contributions are appreciated by local politicians.
Thank you very much to all the team here for inviting me to have a look around today as your local councillor, and I'm so impressed by the work that's being done and the number of volunteers regularly working here and the contribution you make to our local economy.
It's great to be back at Shillingstone. Fantastic to see even more work and progress being made. It's a great project, which is great for volunteers to come and spend some time to do some really good work, and of course it's going to be adding even more of an attraction to people to come and see things in North Dorset. Lovely to see the tree I planted 7 years ago, the Scots pine, doing so well. I went to check on that almost as the first thing to do, but it's great to see. There's a great bunch of volunteers here. They're doing fantastic work, and I wish all of their projects every success into the future. And here's to the railway line coming from here, ultimately right the way through to Sturminster Newton, and allowing lots of people to experience that wonderful way of travelling around the countryside in beautiful Dorset.
The collective benefit for the local economy is an important factor, but on a more personal level, the sense of pride in what they do here brings the volunteers great satisfaction. As a sub-project draws to the finish line, such as is the case for this beautifully restored Scammell Scarab tractor, you can really sense the huge level of achievement. It was known as the mechanical horse because it had the same turning circle as a horse and cart that it replaced. This company film from 1957 explains.
Transport operators everywhere were quick to appreciate its advantages over its four-footed counterpart of a generation ago. Today, this is a common sight in every town and city of Britain, just as familiar as the horse-drawn vehicle was over a century ago. The trailer is always able to be turned in its own length, an inestimable boon under all operating conditions. Transport operators and warehousemen alike appreciate its extra speed and economy. For short-haul use, the Scarab is unrivaled. Ever since its introduction, railway operators, for instance, have recognized its unique advantages.
Another feature was the ease of trailer hookup.
The mechanical horse is reversed so that the ramps on the rear of the chassis engage with the flanged wheels on the undercarriage or trailer portion of the coupling gear. As connection is made, notice how, as the ramps are inclined, continual reversing raises the front end of the trailer. A trip gear unlocks the safety catch of the undercarriage, automatically retracting it. The driver then releases the parking brake, and the complete vehicle is ready to move away. The whole operation has taken a matter of 15 to 20 seconds. It should be emphasized that no special skill other than ordinary driving competence is required. The driver will tell you it's simplicity itself. Nothing to it.
We think this versatile little vehicle could once again be redeployed in perhaps Amazon livery and still used today. But let's leave the final words of wisdom to the Scammell Company.
The advantages of the Scarab are even more evident now than when it was first introduced, for the number of vehicles on the road has increased during the last few years many times over. The horse on the domestic milk round may not yet have outlived his usefulness, but when it comes to transporting milk in bulk, and indeed any other product, the mechanical horse caters for the mass market of today and tomorrow. Get in touch with us, won't you? We at Scammell's have the answer.
Whatever your passion, new volunteers are always welcome, even for just relaxation and, of course, tea, coffee, cake and ice cream for this little one. Situated next to the busy North Dorset Railway, the NDR encourages active recreation and tourism by providing an accessible destination for families, walkers, cyclists, as well as rail enthusiasts and historians. But the ultimate goal is to operate a local rail service, and the railway is now ready to embrace its next big step. Moving away from being a living museum to becoming an operational heritage railway is no mean feat. When operating a working railway, safety is, of course, absolutely paramount. But to operate as a passenger carrying railway, then similar regulation applies as to that endorsed on the national railway network. Working procedures need to be written up and regular inspection by rail authorities come into effect. Undaunted, the volunteers once again have shown their due diligence, and already a few locomotive people have passed their exams to become official drivers for the railway. This enables shunting and is in readiness for a future proposed brake van ride experience for visitors. And oh look, here is the said BR brake van under restoration already. Now new posts are available for shunters, gatekeepers and signalmen and women. Perhaps these roles would appeal to you. Could this railway reconnect Shillingstone with Sturminster Newton? Given council and local support, adequate funding, and if agreement for use can be agreed with all the relevant landowners, it could go ahead. The route through is not particularly arduous, and there aren't that many bridges to respan. Most of the original infrastructure is still in place. It would take a fair few years, but the will and determination is there to do so, and they have the expertise. And locomotion is well on its way. Someday this could be a scene from the North Dorset Railway. So who knows, but if you're interested,
Get in touch with us, won't you? We have the answer.